Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, today it's gonna be review basically. And we go over the homework I've assigned last time, and we review for the exam. What I would like from you is, for those who started the review, I hope lots of you did, to put up the problems that you had difficulties with on chat. We go over them. So everybody who has any problems with the any questions, please put them on chat. In the meantime, I'm going to start going over quiz 3, which is for the first time. You guys didn't do well on this quiz. Usually you did well on 1 and 2, but not on 3. So I have definitely to go over this because it will be quite represented on your exam. All right. So the first question was, do you guys have the feedback? You have the solution on Brightspace, but I have to make sure you get your mistake. You have a function that assigns to each time t in hours the amount of nicotine in milligrams in a person's bloodstream t hours since the person finished smoking a cigarette. So you have this function that you give it the time, that's your input, and this function will give you the amount of nicotine at time t. So how much nicotine you have in milligram. In milligram at time t. Okay. And the idea is that as time changes, of course, the amount of nicotine in your body is going to decrease. And that's the function tells you that how is the amount of nicotine changing with time. So my first question was the following. My only question. Find the average rate of change of F for T between 0 and 4. So the average rate of change is the output at 4. So we use first the formula verbatim, and then we try to understand it. Over 4 minus 0. Okay, so let's see what is F of 4. And then here, somehow, I have some student who started making up formulas. We don't really make up formulas. I have the graph. So if you have 4, that's 4 right here on the graph. F of 4, you just have to pick it up from the graph. You don't make any formula from your head unless I give you one. So F of 4 is equal to 20. And F of 0, this is 0 here. If I want F of 0, it's right there. So it's 50. So we read them from the graph. So this is going to be equal to the output at 4, which is 20, minus the output at 0, which is 50, divided by 4. Okay. So which is equal to minus 30 over 4. Now, a lot of you kept it like this, or here I'm going to change it because I want to be able to understand. So that's the average rate. That's the formula. Now, my question is, give the unit and interpret in terms of nicotine. So what does the average rate represent in terms of nicotine? Right. First, let us understand one more time. When we did this operation, what did we actually did? As time goes from 0 to 4, it means as time passes, the amount of nicotine decreased. So how much is it decreased by? So that's how we understand the average rate. It was at 50. It decreased all the way down to 20. So it decreased by minus 30 milligram. That's by how much it's decreased. That's this piece. But it took 4 hours to do that. So it decreased by minus 30 over a 4 hours period. So when you take the ratio, minus 30 over 4, it's going to give you on average how much it decreased per hour. So the unit is minus 7 milligram per hour. When you think average rate, think speed, think velocity. Velocity tells you how fast things change per hour. So if I tell you what's your velocity, you don't tell me 60 miles. You tell me 60 miles per hour, how fast you are moving. Average rate is, that's the idea, is how fast the amount of nicotine on average was dropping with respect to time. And it's telling you between time equal to 0, so for the first 4 hours, it was dropping at the rate of 7.5 milligram per hour. Doesn't mean exactly every hour is that much. That's how much it's averaging. Okay, so the unit is milligram per hour, milligram per hour, output per unit of input. And what's the interpretation? It means that on average, between the time t equal to 0 and t equal to 4, the amount of nicotine was decreasing by 7.5 milligram per hour. Okay, so that's what it means on average. Not exactly on average. Sometimes it was decreasing less, sometimes it decreased more. On average, it's decreasing by 7.5 milligrams per hour. So remember, always it's a question of speed. It's how fast the nicotine changes with time, how fast milligram changes per hour. Okay, so that was for the first one. Number 2, as a whole, you guys didn't have issue with that. So I didn't have problems with number 2. I can review that in the when I review for the exam. So I let this go because the issue was basically in number 4. But before we do number 4, let me look at number 3. And I'm going to just comment one more time about when we say equation. Okay, what does it mean, equation? Because there is not clear understanding for this concept. So first we will find it and then see what really mean this word equations that you guys have studied. So first let us find the equation. So we find the slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which gave me minus 12 over 4, which gave me minus 3. And I wanted the point slope form, so I can use any point. So I will use that point to find it, which tells me that y minus equal the slope x minus. So y minus y0, x minus x0. You can use either point. So this gives me y minus 2 minus 3 times x plus 1. And then you solve minus 3x minus 3 plus 2, y equal minus 3x minus 1. That would be the equation. But the question is, what does the equation of the line is? I mean, what is really, why we make you find this equation? The idea is that this is a line. I gave you 2 points, minus 1 and 2. That's a point. And 3 and minus 10. So 3 is up here and minus 10 is down here. So if we draw the line carefully, I'm going to get this line. What does it mean finding the equation? Finding equation means finding the rule. That's what it means, finding the rule. So that if I know the x, I take a point on the line. I take a point on the line. Finding equation, find the rule that if I know the x component of this point, the equation will give me the y component. That's what's the equation. It's the rule such that if you take any point on the line, if I know the x, this rule will give me the y. That's really what finding the equation is. What's really happening? If I take x to be, I don't know, minus 3, what is the y? I just plug in y for 3 and I get the y. That's what equation means. Okay, it's the rule that if you take a point on the graph, if you know the x, what's the y? That's what the equation. A lot of students stopped at the slope, but slope is not the equation. Slope does not give you the rule. It's the tool that will allow you to find the rule. Number 4. I thought I gave you an easy problem, but somehow you guys messed up in the reading. All right, so let us see what number 4 is about. So we have a baseball card. It was purchased for $30. And its value is increasing at a constant rate. So when I tell you its value, it's increasing at a constant rate, it means it's a linear function. It means every year is increasing by the same amount. That's what constant rate means. Assume that 10 years after purchase, the value is 76. And let f be the function that is assigned to each time t in years, the value of the car t years after its purchase. So let us really understand what's the rule. So I have a function. You give it time, it gives you the value of the car at time t, the card at time t. That's what it is. So f of t means represent value of card at time t. That's what the function is. The value is increasing at a constant rate. It means by the same amount every year. So the value of the card is changing at the same amount. So constant rate, tell me that the function is linear. What it means is if you graph this function, you're gonna get a straight line. Okay. Now, find a formula. What does it mean to find a formula? It means find the rule so that if I give you the time, you give me the value. That's what the formula is. It means the rule that if I give you the time, you give me the value. It's like the equation of a line. That's the rule that we needed. So to be able to find it's linear, it means that we know that the formula should have the form slope times time plus b. So to find the formula, you have to find the m and the b. To find the slope, I need 2 points. Did I give you 2 points? Now let's read what I gave you. What's it I gave you? Time f of t. I gave you that the car was purchased for $30. And I told you that t is time after its purchase. So at t equal to 0, the value was 30 because t equal to 0 corresponds to the time of purchase. And then I told you that after 10 years, this is the data you have. You cannot make up any of your data. It's 76. So basically, I'm giving you a function. I'm telling you its graph is a line. At 0, the value of the card is after 10 years, it is 76. So that's really my function. I'm telling you to find a formula. It means find the rule so that if I know time, I know f of t. So it's really boiling down to find the equation of the line whose graph is what you see right there. Now I give you 2 points. So the slope is going to be over 10, which is how much? 4.6, if you guys have done it. Okay, now I basically gave you b because b is the value at 0. I gave you b. And let us say you didn't pay attention to that, which is fine. So it means f of t is 4.6t plus b. To find b, you say, okay, f of 0, the value at 0 is b, means 0 is equal to b. And that's the formula. So the formula is not the slope. The formula is the rule that will give me. So f of t equal 4.6t plus 30. That's really the formula. You don't make up table. A lot of you try to make a table. I don't know how, but that's the table. That's the only table that you are given. Now identify the slope, give it unit. So we found the slope. The slope is 4.6. What does the slope tells me? The slope is the following. In 10 years, the numerator is telling me that, so this is 36. I'm at 46. It means in 10 years, the value of the card changed by $46. So when you divide by 10, you're actually telling me how much it changed per year. So in other words, what's the slope? Means if the time increased by 1 unit, by how much the value increased by. That's the slope. That's the 4.6 right here. So interpret its meaning. It means every year the value of the card was increasing by $4.6 every year at a constant rate of 4.6. So it's not gaining, it's just constant rate, it keeps gaining by the same amount. Okay. So please go over that problem. I mean, you're going to have harder than that on your exam, but please make sure to understand. All right. So this is the quiz. Now I'm open to any questions you have. Please, any questions about the quiz before I move on?
Yeah, I have a question about the exam itself, not like any of the questions on the review.
Yeah.
Since you're giving us like nearly 2 hours to work on it, how many questions are on it?
I usually write the exam the night before. So don't worry, you guys will have the time. I'm trying to give you as much time as possible. I mean, time that I give 1 hour 15 for in face-to-face, I'm extending it for you so you guys can do, you know, I don't want technology to get in the way. So that's why I give you a lot of time. All right. Okay, now back to the Esmeralda, you have a lot of questions. These are from the review. Are your questions from the review? Okay, all right, so very good. So the exam will be around the review, that's for sure, and what I'm doing in class. So I will go through the problems. Let me check them. I have to look them up. Okay, so I'll start with your question, your classmate's question, and then I will proceed to other stuff. I mean, not to other stuff, but more questions. So she's asking for 9B. Okay, so I will do number 9. So number 9 is a question of an average rate. It's purely algebraic question because, as I said, you need this a lot once you hit calculus. In case you do, I don't really know. So we have to learn how to work symbolically with some problems. So I will do number 9. So I have the following function. Okay, and my question is find the average rate of change for x between t and t plus h. So it's a highly symbolic, which is okay. As I said, I have to train you for doing symbolic stuff. All right, so what is the formula? The average rate of change is, always the formula is the same, is f at t plus h minus f of t divided by t plus h minus h. Okay, it means now t plus h, my apology, minus t. So it's t plus h minus t. Now t plus h minus t would leave me with a little h in here, and this will be f of t plus h minus t, minus f of t. Okay, before I plug in everything, what I'm going to do is actually evaluate each one separately. So I'm going to evaluate this and then evaluate that and then plug them back in, just so that the math will not be, so it will be easier to represent. So let's do it one piece by piece. What is f of t plus h? T plus h squared minus 2 times t plus h plus 6, verbatim. Okay, so now let us work out each one of them. This one squared, I think I've done this like a million times by now, and I still have students who are not doing it correctly. You'd basically multiply this by that. Okay, and then you get t squared plus th plus th plus h squared. Now I have to distribute. Be careful with the sign. Minus 2t minus 2h plus 6. Okay, so I'm gonna, and I will see if I can kind of collect stuff. T squared, 2th, h squared, 2t, 2h. I cannot combine anything. I let this go. Okay, so that's f of t plus h. I took care of this term. Now what is f of t? F of t, it means you just plug in t for x. So this will give you t squared minus 2t plus 6. So I evaluated those separately, and now I'm going to put them back into the formula. So the average rate of change become, okay, f of t plus h. So do it very slowly. It's not actually hard. Minus, parentheses. That's what you should be careful with, your parentheses, how you distribute. And all those problems is basically for you to practice these ideas. So equal to, right, h. I'm going to copy this piece because there is nothing to simplify. And then I'm going to distribute. Minus t squared, minus minus, plus t. Be careful to distribute the sign. Minus 6 over h. Now I'm going to collect term and see what can I get rid of and stuff like that. So let's see. Plus 6, minus 6, cancel each other out. T squared, cancel each other out. Anything else? Anything else?
The 2t.
The 2t. Plus 2t, minus 2t. Very good. So what I'm left with? So what I'm left with is 2th plus h squared minus 2h. So I took care of that, I took care of that, I took care of that, and there is nothing else I can take care of. All right, I get that, which is very good. Now we can push it a step further by factoring out the h here. So this is h times h. So this will allow me that to factor out the h, and I will have 2t. I factor out an h, one h is left. I factor out the h minus 2 over h. And at this stage, I will get 2t plus h minus 2. Okay. And so what's the mistake I still find when I'm giving you those problems? The mistake I'm finding is always an algebra mistake. And let me address it one more time, and I hope you guys won't do it again. Are you done? Can I move on? All right. The mistake I still see is, let us say you guys did this problem and you did a mistake, which is all right. That's okay. But then you remember that, you know, in class she factored. She canceled stuff. So you try to imitate what I did in class, but then you don't do it right. So let us say a student did a mistake, ended up with this expression, right? That's what you end up with. A lot of time the student will do that. Is this correct? Back to you. This is a tendency that happens a lot in every algebra class. Is this a correct what the student did? Yes or no? Speak up.
No.
No, because when can we cancel out? When can we simplify? Algebraically correct. Can anybody articulate it? So basically here, if I have 4 plus 2 over 4, you cannot simplify this and this and give me 2, because 4 plus 2 over 4 is 6 over 4. It's definitely not 2. But when can I simplify? How should the form should be? Come on, guys, speak up. The only time we can simplify a term in the numerator and denominator if this term is a common factor. It means if I have h times something, h times, let us say h times whatever, 5 plus, I don't know, h. Now I can factor, I can simplify. So I can only simplify when the term is a common factor for numerator and denominator. It's the only time I can simplify. So if you cannot factor a term, you cannot simplify. So you cannot do that. You have to factor and then you simplify. It's like if you have 6/9, here you can simplify because 3 is a common factor in both of them. So you can factor the 3, which give you 2/3. That's how you can factor. It has to be a common term. Okay, so now let's look at Esmeralda's other questions, and everybody is really welcome to put your question. It is your exam, it's your review, and I want you to do well. Okay, so number 13, 18, and 22. Okay. Number 13. Actually, I would like also to do number 14. So number 13 was the following. I gave you a table. And I gave you a bunch of values. So that's the input and that's the output. And 10 and 4 and -8. And the question is f linear? It means can f be a linear function? Okay, so to make sure that f is linear, it means can the graph be a line basically? To make sure that f is linear, we have to make sure that the rate of change is the same, or let us say the slope is the same. So is the slope remain the same in this problem? So what do I mean by that? Between -2 and 0, between those two, we compute basically the change of y over the change in x to make it in terms you understand. So but how much is the change or the slope? It's 4 minus 10 over 0 minus -2. So from 10 to 4, we went down by 6, and we basically end up by 2. It's -3. Now what happened from here to between 0 and 4? What is the average rate of change? Or what's the change of output over the change of input? Between 4 and -8, so it's -8 minus 4 divided by 4 minus 0. Means from here to here, we went down basically by -12 over 4. This is -3. So this function is linear because the average is absolutely the same. So this function is absolutely f is linear. So what's happening here? When x increased by 2, the output went down by 6. When it increased by 4, it went down by 12. So it's the same ratio. -12 over 4, ratio -6 over 2 is the same ratio. It means this function is going to be a linear function. The ratio of the output, change of output over the input is exactly the same. Oh, okay. I will fix that. Thanks. Okay, I said not linear. All right, so I had to change the solution. All right, I will change the key. Thank you, Esmeralda. All right. Okay, so now let's look up at number 14. And then I will do 18 and 22 and then everything you guys want. So let me look at number 14. I know I've done this in class before, but I would like to go over it because the idea of a formula is still not clear for some student. 1 and 6, and f of x is tan 4k. Okay, so I'm telling you that f of x is linear. I'm giving you that. Find k. Okay. So what does it mean? And I gave you a hint. My hint was, I want you to find a formula for f of x. What does it mean to find a formula for f of x? It means I want you to find a rule so that I'm telling you it's linear. Find a formula means find the rule that if you know the x, the rule will give you what should be the output. Okay. So this is simply a linear function. So It means that if I graph it, I have a line, -2, 10, and 1 down here, it's a 4. 1, 4, and -2, 10. So I'm telling you that if you graph it, you get a line. I want to find a formula. It means you have to find the rule that if I give you the x, a point on the graph, what this should be. That's really what this is about. So, okay, f of x is mx plus b. That's the form because it is linear. The slope is the slope. 4 minus 10, y0, y1 minus y2 over 1 minus -2. -3. Okay. And then you have to find the b. You can use the point slope form. You can use the slope intercept. I don't really care. So let me use the the slope intercept. So now I have f of x equal -3x plus b. We need to find the b. I said to myself, okay, -2. I'm going to say to myself, the point 1, 4 is on the line. What does it mean? It means if x is y, if x is 1, y is 4. If x is 1, the output is 4. And then this helped me solve for b. B equal to 7. So the formula will become -3x plus 7. And now I want my k. Well, how do I find my k? Quickly. So I found the formula, f of x equal -3x plus 7. Now, how do I find my k?
You would plug in the 6.
We would plug in the 6. We would plug in the 6 because, again, what does it mean to find the formula? It means to follow the rule that if you take a point on the graph, if you know the x, the formula will give you the y. So here, my x is 6. So my x should be somewhere down here. The formula should give you what's going to be the y. So if you are on the line, I have the x, I want the y. To find the k, so k is nothing more than what this function does to 6. It means -3 times 6 plus 7. It means -18 plus 7, which is -11. It means down here, this point right here, this should be 6, 11. That's really what the formula, that's really what the rule is giving us. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Wouldn't the slope be 2 instead of -2?
Am I messing up royally?
I think.
I think so. That's gonna be -2. Why did I do that? You guys are too quiet. When you're too quiet, I feel I'm talking to myself, and then I do stupid mistakes. -2. Thank you very much. -2. -2. And then this is going to be 6, right? Keep correcting me. And this is 6. And this is 6. And this is 6. And this is going to give me -12. -12 plus 6, right? -5. And this should be -5. Thanks a lot. My apology. Okay, but that's the idea. Okay, so now let's look at number 18. Maybe I should give +1 to every student who correct me. Okay, let's look at number 18. Okay, all right. Again, that's a story problem, and expect that. I mean, expect those type of story problem, at least one of them. On March 17, 2003, the number of cases of SARS is the problem we had prior to COVID-19. In 2003, we had a similar case, but we were able to get rid of it quickly. So it's a severe acute respiratory system. Reported in Hong Kong was 79 cases. So let's repeat. On March 17, the number of cases was 79. After 7 days, the estimate number of cases was 289. So it's really increasing. Let T represent days after March 17. So T equal to 0 is March 17. And F is the function that assign to each time T the number of cases T days after March 17. So March 17 is T equal to 0. And F is the following. Always we have to understand F. So it's very similar to the baseball problem that I gave you. So F of T is the number of cases T, the unit here is T days after March 17, 2003. That's what F of T is. So I have a function, you give it time, it spits out number of cases at time T. Okay, so that's the situation. Now, what do they tell me? They tell me F of T is linear, crucial. It means every day the number of cases increases by the same amount. That's what linearity. Also, it tells me that the formula have the form MT plus B. Also, it tells me that the graph is a line. So that's what linearity embodies in it. Question number 1, find a formula for F of T. Means you have to give me the rule that if you know time, you know how many cases there are, and then sketch its graph. So let's do that. First, what's given to us? What's really given? This is time. They're telling me initially, on March 17, there were how many cases? 79 cases. It's growing at a constant rate. And then they are telling me that after 7 days, there were how many? 289 cases. That's really the scenario. And they are telling me it's linear. It means basically that's what they are telling me. The graph is a line. So this is 79 initially. After 7 days, it's growing and it is 289. And the graph is a line. And it's linear. It means every the time is in days. Every day is grow by the same amount. That's really what linearity is about. Okay, so find a formula. F of T is linear. So it means finding a formula. It means finding the rule. You have time. It gives you the number of cases. That's the rule. Now we have to find M and B. What's the slope here? It's 289 minus 79 divided by 7. And that should give me 210. Please correct me now. Am I right? Which is 3. Am I correct or I'm goofing?
Don't you mean, isn't 210 divided by 730?
What? I meant 30. Okay. I'm going to do more mistakes. All right, so just give me the slope. Now I want F of T. Do I have F of T easily? In this particular problem, did they give me B, yes or not?
Yeah, it's 79.
It's 79 because B is what? What's B? It's the output when T is what?
0.
Yeah, that's what B is. What happened when B? B is the intercept. B is this one here. Okay, so in this case, basically the problem gave you B because it gave you the value at 0. Because it gives you a value at 0. So F of T is 30T. Suppose we forget it plus B. So that's really the rule. And now I say, okay, if T is 0, the value is 79. It means if I plug in 79 is 30 times 0 plus B. B equal 79. So if you forget, you should be able to find B. So the formula will be 30T plus 79. So now if I want How many cases would have been after 100 days? I plug in 140. How many cases? I don't really have to, I have my formula, so I can find the number of cases at any moment in time I'm interested in. Part B is slope and unit and explain its meaning. The slope is 30. What's the unit? I stop right there. I want you to look over the problem. What does the slope tells me? Whenever you think slope, interpret the slope, go back to your picture and say, okay, the slope is, if I move by 1, something change. The slope is the change here per unit. So what's the unit? Anybody else? It's 30 cases per day. That's really what the slope is telling you. It means those number of cases. So time, now the unit here, this is days. That's days. And here is the number of cases. Always the input on the horizontal, the output on the vertical. And the slope tells you if the number of days increase by 1, by how much the number of cases increase. This is your 30. So it's 30 cases per day. Every day, the number is increasing by day. So interpret, it means every day, the number of cases increase by 30 cases. So we were 79, 30 more get infected in one day. Every day, 30 more get infected. The COVID-19 is not linear. When the COVID-19 started, actually, it was increasing differently. So it was increasing exponentially, which is something we will look into later on in the course. C was identify the intercept, the vertical intercept, basically. The vertical intercept means what happened at t equal to 0. The vertical intercept is the output when t is equal to 0. So what's the vertical intercept and what's the unit? And interpret. I would like to do that before I pick. Anybody? Anybody would like to tell me what's the vertical intercept? What does it represent?
79.
79. What's the unit?
Cases.
Cases. What does it mean?
It's the initial number of cases that we start off with.
Right. It means it's the number of cases in this particular problem on March 19, 17, 2003. So 79, it represents the number of cases at t equal to 0. It means on March 17, 2003. That's really what the vertical intercept. It's what happened when t equal to 0. What's the output? What's the number of cases at t equal to 0? All right, I look at number 22. Okay, and then I will back up. This number 22. Okay, so let's see what this is about. Below is the graph of two functions. So I give you the graph of two functions. The first one is y equal x squared plus 3x minus 4, okay? And the second one is y equal 4x plus 8. Okay, so I gave you the graph of two functions and I graphed them for you because you don't know how to graph. You should know how to graph this because that's a straight line. The intercept is at 8 because if x is 0, y is 8. And So this line, there is no problem with it. This one is you don't know how to graph it, so I graphed it for you, and I thought it looks like this, something like that. Means every point on this graph, satisfies the condition. If you know the x, the y is given by this rule. And my question is, find those intersection points. Algebraically, okay, not graphing and finding them algebraically. How do we do that? Anybody? I did that in class for 2 lines. Now I'm giving you a lines and a parabola basically. And the question is, how do I do that? Algebraically. Anybody? How do I find those intersections? Okay, let me ask you the following question. Don't write. I want you to listen to me and answer. Can this be 1? Can this be 1? I just threw a number from the top of my head. But I want a justification. Can this be 1? Yes? No? What happened? Anybody like to answer? Can the intersection happen when x equal to 1? Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna pick one and just, you know, see what they think. Okay, suppose I pick, I don't know, Madison. Madison, are you with me? Madison? Okay, I'll pick somebody else. What?
Yeah, I said no.
No, are you listening to my question? You said no, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, justify. No is correct.
I mean, I don't think it can be. I don't think it can be 1 because it just that it doesn't make sense.
Tell me why. Because if you want to know how to solve it, we have to know why 1 doesn't make sense. Because you're correct. Why?
I mean, it's not even in the problem.
Anybody else? I want to know why 1 doesn't make sense. Anybody can answer. Anybody? Matt, Peyton, anyone can answer why 1 doesn't make sense. Okay. If you didn't, because maybe you okay, let's see. If this is 1, if it's a correct answer, it means that whether I plug 1 in this equation of a line or I plug it in the equation of a parabola, this has to be the same number. Okay, so if this point is on the intersection, it means if I take 1, plug it here, or plug it here, I should have the same y value. Otherwise, it cannot be on both graphs. If I plug 1 here, I get a 12. If I plug it here, I get 1 plus 3. 4 minus 4, I get 0. So this point cannot be on both graphs because for 1, I will have 2 different y's. So this cannot be on the graph. So how I'm going to find the intersection? How can I find the intersection? I need to find the value of x. So that if I plug it here, equation of the line, or I plug it into the equation of the parabola, I get the same value. So to find the intersection point, to find the intersection where they meet, we're going to set the y from the parabola, y from the line. So we set the y is equal to each other, is the y of the parabola. In other words, we're going to set 4x plus 8 equal x squared plus 3x minus 4 and solve for x. Okay. So to find the intersection, I set the y equal to each other, and I said which value of x will make the y from both of them equal to each other. So now we need to solve this equation. All right. This is involved in x squared. So the only way to solve it is to make one side only zeros and then factor. So to be able to solve it, I'm going to rewrite it in this format just to make it easier for us. I'm going to subtract 4x from both. So it's going to give me x squared plus 3x equal 8. So which will give me x squared minus 4x. And then I'm going to subtract 8 minus 4 minus 8 equal to 0. Okay. So this will give me x squared minus x minus 12 equal to 0. So remember, to solve those, I want to make it so that there is only 0 from one side. And now I factor. So you set one side only 0 and then you factor. All right, what are the factors here? What are the factors? What are the two numbers? When you multiply them, you get minus 12. You add them, you get a minus 1, basically. Quickly. Madison. Okay, anybody? What are the factors? What are the two numbers? When you multiply, you get minus 12. You add, you get minus 1. 3 and 4 plus 3. Okay, so to solve this equation, we set one side equal to 0 and then we factor. And what does this give me? It means x minus 4 equal to 0, x plus 3 equal to 0. The first one will give me x equal to 4. The second one will give me x equal minus 3. Okay, so the points are 4 and minus 3. And now let us find the points. So these are the x value. Now I need to find the points themselves. Okay, so what are the points? So if it's 4, it means this has to be the 4, and this have to be minus 3. So now we find the points. The points, it means I want the x and y coordinate. Okay, if this is minus 3, what should be the second coordinate? Okay, what should be here? What should be here? Okay, I'll give you a minute to figure out the answer. That I'm going to pick one of you for the answer. Okay, Taylor, are you with me? Taylor, sort of. Okay, can you give it your best shot? What should be this one here? think about the picture. This is a point right there. If this is -3, this point is on the graph of the line, on the graph of the parabola. So how can I find the y coordinate? -1. How did you get it? I'm not guessing. I'm not gonna guess. We have to find a way. How did you get -1 from? Let me ask the following question. Suppose I gave you this point here on the line. That's the line. So this is y equal 4x plus 8. And I told you this is 0. What's this value here? Taylor, stay with me. This is a point on the line. If I tell you this is 0, what should be this value? What would you do? You plug in 0 in the equation of the function of the line, and you get 8. If I give you this point, and I tell you this is 1, what is this component? Taylor, can you answer that question? This one. Remember, I don't know you, so, feel comfortable. Anybody else? Sage? Can you answer that question? Anybody? Ricky? If this is the line for x plus 8, this is the line y equal 4x plus 8. And if I tell you this is a point on the line, I tell you the x value is 1. What's going to be the y value? What do? We plug in 1 for x. I will get 12. That's really what the equation is about. Let me try one more point. Suppose I take here the point 2. What's this coordinate? Peyton? I won't stop till you guys figure this out.
Sorry, I was fixing my own mistake. What was the question?
What's your mistake?
Well, I was doing it on my own paper and I accidentally did x plus 3 equals 0, or I accidentally did x minus 3 equals 0, not x plus 3.
Yeah, okay.
And I was wondering
that's
why
good.
my answers are wrong.
Whenever you factor, what do? Go back. Make sure that your factoring work. You understand what I'm saying or not?
Yeah.
Distribute. And say, is my factoring equal to the original expression? And if you do that, then you make sure you're not doing any mistake. I do this. So I want you to do that. So it means x times x squared plus 3x minus 4x minus x minus 12. So go back and ask, am I doing it correctly? Okay, that's it. That's a solid mistake. Okay, let me go back to my question, because if you guys cannot answer me, it means it's problematic. So Peyton, now stay with me. I'm taking this point on the line, this line, y equal 4x plus 8. This point. I'm telling you the first coordinate is 2. Can you give me the second coordinate? That's my question.
It would be 16.
Because,
right?
I don't know, maybe.
Because you plug in 2 for x.
Exactly,
So
I'm gonna give you 16.
8.
Very
Yep.
good. Now, I'm back to this problem here. Peyton, stay with me. I'm looking for the intersection point. We found -3, we find 4. My question is, what's this coordinate?
-4.
Where did you get that from?
Because I plugged it in the same way.
The same line, so we plug it in here. So if x equal -3, y is 4 times minus 3 plus 8 minus 12 plus 8 minus 4. That will give me this point. Where else can we plug it in? Where else can we plug it in? If I plug it into the equation of the parabola, this one, we should get the same answer. That's the idea of the intersection. Whether I plug it here or here, I should get the exact same answer. Otherwise, what I am doing is nonsense. That's really what we are finding. So if I plug it in this equation, so if I plug x here, in the parabola, I will get minus 3 squared plus 3 times minus 3 minus 4. I should get minus 4. Otherwise, this is not where they meet. So let's see, what do I get? That's give me a 9, minus 9, minus 4, minus 4, minus 4. It means this point is absolutely on both curves. Okay, 4. What should be this coordinate? Anybody likes to answer, or you want me to choose one? 24. Where did you plug it in?
I plugged in 4 for both of the equations.
And you got 24. Exactly.
Yeah.
You should get the exact same answer, because this point is on the graph of the line and on the graph of the parabola. It means if you plug in 4 for x, whether you use this equation or this equation, they should spit out the exact same number. That's exactly what we are in the process of doing. Okay. So this will answer, I think, all the questions that I saw on here. Okay, let me go through the test with you and make sure you guys can get all of them. So solve each of the equations below. So we go through everyone, and whenever you guys think you have difficulties, you let me know. This problem should be basically straightforward. We should not have any issue with that. Solve this equation. Again, I've done this before. So this would be, you have to isolate, and then you square both sides. This gives you 16, x equal to 10. Okay, we've done this. Now, how would you solve C? C, how do we do it? Quickly, so I can help you through this review. Okay, who solved it? Anybody like to pitch in? Okay. The best way to do it, we have to factor out the x. We factor. X is what we have to factor, which giving me 3x minus 5 equal to 0. Okay, so we have x squared, we factored the x. If I factor the x, 3x is left from here, and 5 is left from here. So this will give me, this first one will give me x equal to 0, 3x minus 5 equal to 0. So x equal to 0, there is nothing to do about it. 3x minus 5 equal to 0 will give me x equal 5 over 3. So the solution would be x equal to 0, x equal 5/3. Okay. D, I think I've done a lot of D's, so I will not do D again. E, let's remember how we solve E. I think I've done also. Okay, how do we solve that? So the only way to solve it, we have to multiply by 5x minus 2 both sides. So this will give me 3x plus 6 is minus 1 times 5x minus 2. And then the rest will be fairly simple as long as we distribute correctly. That this would be minus 5x minus minus plus 2. And the power of x is 1. So we put the x's together and the constant terms together. So this is going to give me 8x equal 2 minus 6 minus 4, x equal minus 2. And then you can plug it back into here and make sure you get a minus 1. So those are the basic equations that you are interested in. The second type of problems we are responsible for is graph. You will definitely have a graph, absolutely have a graph. And I mean, almost everything on this review, somehow you will have it. So you will definitely have a graph and you will be asked basically the same type of questions. Output at -3, and then the second question usually would be, I give you the output and I ask you to find the input. So in this particular case, for B, I'm telling you that what are the input that gives me the output of -2. So if this is -2 right here, so you're gonna give me this value, and this value right here. So in part 2, I give you the output -2. You have to give me which value of x will give me an output -2. Then increasing, decreasing, I think we should be fine. You guys make sure you can do it and check the answer keys for that. All right. Number 4. Number 4 is always the same type of questions I'm trying to emphasize. Let f of x be x squared minus 6. The graph of f is given. Find the missing coordinate. Now, of course, you don't see anything here. So this point is C. I'm giving Q 6, and I'm asking Q the missing coordinate. That's really the question. So how can I find for C? How can I find the missing coordinate? If I'm giving Q a C, means I'm giving Q the y coordinate, and I'm asking Q to find the x. So my function is x squared minus x. So to find the point C means we have to set x squared minus 5x equal to 6 and solve for x. That's really, because giving you a formula, it means I'm giving you what should be the relation between the input and the output. So now this will be easy. I'm going to set this equal to 0, and then I factor this out. 6 and 5 will give me 3 and 2, x, and it should be minus, sorry, my mind went blank. It's 1 and 6. It should be 1 and 6. I factor out x squared plus minus, so this will give me x equals 6, x equal minus 1. The point is here, so this should be -1, 6. All right. Now B, I write B clearly. So B is 1. My question is to find the second coordinate. So for B, I'm basically giving you the x. So for B, what you need is, I gave you the input, it's 1. What you actually need is the output, is -4. So my point B is 1 minus 4. So against the idea of understanding what this formula is really telling me. Okay, now for A. A, according to the picture here, is interrogation mark, 0. So for A, I'm giving you the output 0. I'm asking you what input gives me an output of 0. So in this case, it means you have to set x squared minus 5x equal to 0 and solve for x. So you factor out the x and you get x equals 0, x equal to 5. Looking at the picture, my A has to be 5, 0. Okay. So again, the goal of this problem is understand what this formula is really telling us and what's the relationship between the graph and the formula itself. Now, number 5, I did a lot like those. Please do the math yourself. That's where your algebra can be problematic, and make sure that you can do it. And be careful. F of 4, it means the input is 4, you find the output. Find all the values such that f x equals 34. It means in this case, I'm giving you the output. You have to find the x, which spits out the 34. So do not confuse those two types of problems. Number 7 and 6 are exactly along the same line. So please do them and check that your algebra is correct. Those aren't hard, it's where your algebra get into the picture. Please make sure to do them. Okay, average rate of change. We did talk about that. This is equation, that's how to graph a function. I don't think you should have problems with it. And 14 and 15, this has to deal, or 14, we did that in class. 15, 16, 17 has to do to find equation of a line where I'm telling you it's a perpendicular to another line. Make sure you can do those. You will have a problem along those lines. So you can write this down for yourself. Number 18, we just did it. Okay. I will not give you domain on this exam. I will not give you domain. I want you to concentrate on the rest, just to give you a break. So no domain on the exam, because no domain. So you guys will concentrate on the rest of the exam. And then the other thing I would like to pick is like number 21. Again, because it's along the same lines, interpret. So let's look at number 21, and then I wish you the best of luck. So I'm going to read 21 with you and do it. So as dry air moves upward, I gave you the scenario before, but now I'm giving you more about it. As dry air moves upward, it cools. Let F be the function that is assigned to each height T in kilometer above ground level, the temperature of the air in degrees Celsius at this height. So my function is assigned to the height. So you give it height T, and my function will give you the temperature at this height. Okay, that's really my function. So F of T is the temperature in degrees Celsius of the air at height T. Make sure you read the problem, make sure you understand what's given to you. And I'm giving you a bunch of values for the height. So I'm telling you that if the height is 0.3 kilometer, the temperature at this height is 17. If you go up 1.8 kilometer, the temperature drops to 2 because the temperature decreases as we go on. Now, question is, assume F is linear. Sketch the graph of F, label clearly the horizontal and the vertical axis. Okay, so F is linear, it means the graph is a line. Now, label the horizontal and the vertical axis. First, the way we define the function is taking the height to temperature. What should goes on the horizontal axis is your input, what you input the function. So you input the height, So this should be the height. You output the temperature. This should be the temperature. That's how we graph it. Now, if you have 0.3 kilometer, so that's 0.3, the temperature was 17. So that's a point on the graph. When the height was 1.8 kilometer, so 1.8, the temperature dropped to 2. So that's another point on my graph. So my function is actually decreasing. That's the graph of my function. Okay. What matters here for me is height and temperature, how you label your axis well. Now assume f is linear, find a formula. Okay, finding a formula, it means finding the rule that if you know the input, you know the output. So that's mt plus b. The slope, always the change in the y's, 2 minus 17 over the change. So that's minus 15 over 1.5. This is going to give me minus 10. Now I need to find b. Now watching this problem, so I will finish very quickly. I do not have the intercept. Be very careful. I do not have the intercept. I have a point. So find t. We have to find b. So we say that when the height is 0.3, the y value, if you want, is 17. So I will have 17, that's f of t, equal minus 10 times 0.3 plus b. Or you can use the slope intercept for, that's a point slope for. So we solve for b. So it's going to give me, this is minus 3. So b is equal to 20. So my formula now is minus 10t plus 20. Okay, so I did not give us the intercept. We have to go after it. Okay, so the two last questions. Sorry, I'll take 2 extra minutes and then you're on, you can go. Here. Identify the slope as usual. Give it unit, interpret its meaning. What's the slope in this problem? The slope is minus 10, not 10t. The slope is a number, it's minus 10. What's the unit? I go back to my picture. What's the unit? You ask yourself, what's really going on? What's the minus 10? It means every time we move by 1 unit, it means the height increased by 1. My temperatures go down by 10. So the unit is going to be degrees Celsius by how much the temperature go per unit of height. So that's going to be the slope. It means that the temperature decreases by 10 degrees every time we go up by 1 kilometer. So the slope tells me that every time we go up by 1 kilometer, the temperature decreases by 10 degrees. So at a constant rate, every 1 kilometer up, 10 degrees less because the air cool. And that's the meaning of the slope. Now the last question is D. At what height does the temperature reaches 0 degrees Celsius? What should be the height for the temperature to be 0 degrees? So now they are asking me about, so we need to find the height. Now it means T stands for the height such that the temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. So we need to find the input, so the output will be equal to 0. So to do that, we're going to find T, the height, so that the temperature is equal to 0. Okay, just read the problem. What are they asking us for? And now we solve for T. So this is going to give me that T equal minus 20T equal to 2 kilometers. Okay, it means after 2 kilometers, the temperature is going to drop down and the temperature will drop down to 0 degrees. Okay. So the idea of those problems is basically read them carefully, What do they mean? What they are asking? And that's the only way you can solve those type of problems. Okay, I'm personally done.